Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. We are back on the Hornet Sting dev server, and it's time to have a look at the namesake of the update. This is the A-18C, and specifically the late variant, and in this video we're going to have a look at the A, the C late, and also the other Hornet which is about, which is for Finland in the Swedish tech tree. So we did an individual video on the premium one, if you want to check that out. But this one will be focused on these two right here, and also the one for Sweden. So first of all, the F-18A is the first Hornet you're going to get access to. When it comes to the American tech tree, they're actually in the naval kind of fighter line. So you have the F-8U, the F-4J, and then the F-18A and the F-18C late. They've actually put the F-14s between them, and they are grouped together. So if you want to get access to the late, you're going to have these vehicles researched. So what is the difference between the F-18A and the C late? Why is this one 14.0 in air and this vehicle is 12.7? It comes down to armaments and also internal systems. The F-18A has access to the AN/APG-65Q radar, whereas the late has the AN/APG-73, which is just a better version. Also, this has the AN/ALR-56C RWR, where the F-18A also has the AN/ALR-56C, so that doesn't change. The engines do change, though. So on the A, you have the F404GE400s with pretty good afterburner thrust, but the C late has the F404GE402 engines, which have 8,000 kgf of afterburner thrust on top of everything else. The other interesting thing about these vehicles is the secondary armaments and how they change across the board, and that is the major factor between these things being completely different BRs. So we'll have a look at both of them and just kind of show what I mean. So with the F-18A, you have access to the AIM-7Ms and also the AIM-9Ls. Since this is a vehicle that you also research through in the tech tree, they have added AIM-7Fs to it, so you probably start out with these and then graduate to the 7Ms, which are obviously just kind of the better versions than the AIM-7Fs, but then you have access to AIM-9Ls too. So no AIM-9Ms once again. Instead, no IRCCM, IR-seeking missiles, only AIM-9Ls, showing that they have quite a lot of belief in these vehicles, since a lot of other vehicles around these BRs start getting IRCCM launchers. So if you want to, you can bring along 6 AIM-7Ms and 2 AIM-9Ls, or you can bring 6 AIM-9Ls and then 4 AIM-7Ms. So depending on how you want to set it up, it shouldn't really be too tough. Then for ground ordnance for the F-18A, you have drag bombs, and then you have a bunch of different dumb bombs that are here, incendiaries that you can bring along too, rockets, and of course the new AGM-62 ERDL. This is the new walleye which is coming in, which should have extended range, which is quite good. Also, something that you may not see here is this also has the AN/AAS-38 optical pod. This actually sits right here on the kind of air intake, which is kind of fun. So unfortunately, they don't show this in the secondary armaments. It would be nice if they did just put like a pod thing here, so therefore people knew it was there. But this will mean using these big old bombs will be a lot easier to do. The walleyes are TV guided, and also you can see TNT equivalent of 264 kilos, which is quite nice. And unfortunately, as I said, this thing doesn't get access to like any laser guided munitions or anything like that in terms of ground ordnance, which kind of sucks. For the general kind of like electronics section, this thing does get CCIP and CCRP for bombs, CCIP for rockets, and also EEGS for cannons, and also gets a really cool cockpit in the game, which is really cool too. So let's compare it to the F-18C late. What does this vehicle get access to? You can already see that there is slightly different weapon setups. This vehicle gets the Lightning II targeting pod, which is another thermal pod, and also gets access to actual laser-guided munitions. The first thing we want to focus on, though, is, of course, the air-to-air loadout, which is massively improved too over the F-18A. This thing gets access to the AMRAAM, the AIM-120Bs, and it also gets them on these hard points where you can actually have 2 of them on a single hard point, meaning this vehicle can carry 10 AMRAAMs. So that is incredibly powerful, and they are the AIM-120Bs as well, which I'm pretty sure are exactly the same as the A's, at least in the game right now. I might be wrong about that. It also gets access to the AIM-9Ms, which are the IRCCM versions of the AIM-9Ls, meaning that they're a lot harder to flare, and also have the smokeless motor, which means they're harder to see, and are some of the best missiles that you will find in the game. It also gets access to the AIM-7Ps, which are the upgrade of the AIM-7Ms, and they have the data link capability, which is quite fun. So if you want to do semi-actives too, you can do that as well. I think most people would probably just do the AMRAAMs and then also the AIM-7Ms, but at least you have the option, which is pretty fun. So from an air-to-air point of view, this thing is a huge upgrade over the FA-18A, and from a ground point of view, it's also a huge upgrade. You have access to all the different paveways that exist. You have the drag bombs, of course, the dumb bombs, and then also you get access to JDAMs, the GNSS bombs as well. Then you also get access to the thermopod that we've talked about before, the Lightning II, the incendiaries once again, if you want to bomb stuff, the rockets, and also Mavericks, the AGM-65Fs, which are the IR-guided SAPHE Mavericks, and then also you get the AGM-65Es, which are the laser-guided Mavericks right here, which also have the SAPHE warhead. So you have pretty much all of the different kind of American arsenal that you would ever want. The only thing that this thing is missing at the moment compared to other vehicles is I don't think it has any glide bombs, but it has everything else. And that means that it would be very dangerous in pretty much all situations in the game. So that is going to be fantastic to kind of play with. And as you can see with this loadout, you can really start bringing the pain. The other Hornet which is in the game is, of course, the Finnish one, the F-18C. Now, this one has access to the AN/APG-73 radar, and also it has access to the upgraded engines. So this is more similar to the FA-18C late instead of the early version. It's actually pretty much just a copy of the late that you find in the American tech tree. In the aviation tree for Sweden, you will find it after the MiG-21 BIS. So if you want access to this, you have to go through the BIS, which, you know, isn't a huge deal. But remember, when it comes to rank 7 for Sweden, you actually have to research all of these vehicles in order to get access to the next rank 8, you know, of vehicles. So you're still going to have to go through all of the lines anyway, not going to make really much of a difference. So this vehicle is 14.0 in air. It's only 12.7 in ground because of the air weaponry. This vehicle is a complete air superiority version of the F-18. So it doesn't have access to any ground ordnance. It only gets access to the AIM-120s and also the AIM-9Ms. So technically, this is a worse version of the vehicle that's in the American tech tree because it just doesn't have as much usability as the one in the American one. But if you're looking at just a solely air-to-air kind of setup, it's exactly the same, and therefore should be pretty good with all of the AMRAAMs and also the AIM-9Ms. It also only has access to the 60 countermeasures once again, and I don't know whether they're actually going to upgrade this and give it access to more countermeasures or not. It just seems a little bit low for this type of vehicle. If you want to have a look at the modifications, this is what the F-18C looks like and how you're going to have to grind it out. It's pretty standard how everything is kind of set up. The FA-18A is a lot more smaller, meaning that each modification is going to be way more expensive than you usually have to deal with, and the same is for the F-18C. They actually have exactly the same modifications, apart from a few very small changes in terms of which, you know, what missiles you grind out. So expect kind of a hefty grind for these Hornets. This one should actually be easier than the other two, because it has more modifications, so each modification will be less cost, which is just weird how all of that works. So the FA-18 is, of course, the namesake in this update. I think generally we can all agree that it's looking very good. It has access to this cockpit, which is really nice. So you can see it's like fully digitalized, And also, you can even see that down there, which is really cool. You can see the temperature of the engines and all of that. You have the little tactical map. You have the radar, if I can turn it on. There you go. So they've put a lot of effort into this cockpit. I think it looks awesome, especially with the digital kind of HUD on the MFD as well, which is really cool to see. The multifunction displays that are all set up. It's just really awesome in general how much effort they put into this stuff. And also, at the same time, this vehicle has Search PD, TWS, VDHDN, TWS, and then also GMTI, which is, of course, the ground radar as well. So you'll be able to see not just air units with this thing, but also ground units too. This vehicle specifically has also got a beautiful camo on it. I'm a huge fan of the camo, and it just looks really nice in general. And then also with the targeting pod, you can see that it has access to thermals and also a decent amount of kind of look, but not a massive amount, I suppose, as it goes through. So yeah, that's the FA-18s. They do also have access to the funny maneuver, so you can actually just like burn ridiculous amounts of speed really quickly if you want to. If I could actually get the pilot to cooperate. But yeah, you can burn and do some very silly things with the vehicle, which means that you can dodge stuff and then dogfight with it, and then, you know, make funny TikToks. But generally, all of the other factors to it are also really good too. So look out for this vehicle. I'm sure many people enjoy it, and it once again is just another very powerful vehicle added to the American tech tree. As always, look after yourselves. Peace be with you. See you next time. I'd just like to thank GMG Smiley, CD Beans, Chieftain Mike, EMN3 Galaxy, Tulio Pontecorvo, Brendan Quinn, Carrion Crow, Gus Irenicus, Pyman, Wartinder, Teddy, Daniel Stanton, Martinez, B. Young, Ozzy Panzer, Alan Hacker, Liam Shear, Opium Prime, Lafouche, Sem, Aslan, Uncle Bean, and Derek R. for supporting the channel.